see you.
Yep, you too. Been a
So,
while.
yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. So, Bob Brookmeyer, there was a book that I just got too. He just seems to be the topic of conversation lately.
Well, Bob has made a huge contribution to the lives of a lot of people, and there is an excellent book, I don't have a copy yet, of conversations that he had with Dave Ravello.
Okay.
Dave Ravello teaches at the Eastman School of Music, and he's a very fine saxophone player, and so they got together and decided to do this book.
Yeah.
And then also Ryan Truesdell, who's very involved in the Gil Evans project, got to know Bob very, very well. And he kind of looks after Bob's website,
Yeah.
which is still active. And of course, that means that people can find very rare albums and buy the music and all kinds of things. So Bob is still very much with us.
Absolutely. So let's get into the show that's coming up. You're going to do a celebration of his music. Let's kind of do a little bit of an inverted pyramid here, as an intro to the show.
Sure. The concert is going to be on Sunday, September the 14th at 2 p.m. at the American Jazz Museum in the Blue Room. And it is a free concert. Everyone is welcome to attend. It's a 75-minute production. We didn't realize when we scheduled this months ago that there'd be some football game taking place here in Kansas City with some team known as the Kansas City Chiefs and those ever-loving Eagles. So we are cutting our concert. We moved it back, and they're inviting everybody to wear Chiefs red, and we guarantee we'll be done before kickoff because we want people to celebrate the Chiefs, but we also want them to come out for this really unique event celebrating Bob Brookmeyer. And it is a free concert.
Yeah.
One thing I should add, Joe, is that the parking situation is interesting, and that folks need to come in on 17th Terrace and pull in behind the Blue Room and or the Jazz Museum, and then walk up to the entrance to the Blue Room, either through the museum or come up Vine Street to the entrance. 18th Street is a bit of a mess right now.
Yes, it is. It certainly is. So that's the thing that I love about Kansas City. When I talk to people from around not only America, but the globe, that I always extol the virtues of Kansas City having these free shows. Whether it's what you're doing, the Thursday at noon series, Johnson County has their own Tuesday afternoon shows. It's like the accessibility to world-class jazz in Kansas City is always here. There's no excuses. It's totally free.
Well, that's true. I mean, there are certain things that there's an expensive charge to. Expensive charge, admission charge. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And that's justified. But
Yeah.
thanks to the underwriting of Jamey Aebersold and the Kansas City Jazz Ambassadors, we are able to do this series of concerts. This is the second year that we have had this series, and we're hoping to go for a third number of concerts and clinics in area schools and free concerts. This is our fourth concert this summer at the museum in the Blue Room. We're grateful for the partnership that we have, and we certainly enjoy working with the staff at the American Jazz Museum. And it is deliberately at the museum. We want folks to come to the museum and experience the heritage of Kansas City jazz and to hear live jazz that reflects that heritage, but is also moving into the future.
And I think the other interesting thing about what Kansas City does is obviously we're an original like cradle of jazz and we adhere and we celebrate the past, like with Charlie Parker Week and other events. Bob Brookmeyer, people don't realize it, is from Kansas City, moved on and went to other places. But we always find a way of not only celebrating that past, but you're going to put your own unique spin with the cats that are happening in this modern Kansas City realm. And I think that's stellar, and I think it's very unique as far as this scene is concerned.
Well, this music well, thank you for that, Joe. It's very kind.
Yeah.
But the music we're going to play is from the album Island, which is not exceedingly well known. It was released in 2003 on the Artist House label, and it was Bob with the great trumpet player composer Kenny Wheeler, who is someone that I've respected and loved for decades. Frank Carlberg on piano, um, yeah, John Hollenbeck on drums, and Jeremy Allen on bass. And they were put together by Bob for this project. And the album includes unique compositions by Bob written for the session and Kenny Wheeler. And the thing about Artist House, it was a high quality production. And there's a second disc which has all of the music, which is how we're able to present it. And we have permission to perform the music, which is wonderful. And as far as we know, this is the first time that the music from Ireland has been performed in Kansas City. So it's kind of unique. It's a mix of ballads, swing pieces. There's a little bit of a Latin tinge to a couple of the pieces, but we're also premiering uh, Kansas City composer and bassist Tim Brewer's work for Bob Brookmeyer.
Wonderful.
Uh, Tim scored this for big band a couple of years ago, and so I asked him if he could rescore it for a sextet, and he said, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "No, come on now, you can do this." And so he got it done, and so we're thrilled to be playing that on Sunday. It'll be the premiere, and it's a wonderful piece of music.
Well, and there's so much music that's in his catalog. So, I mean, you could have picked from any assortment of music, but you landed on this one.
Well, Bob's music means a lot to me. The first time I heard a composition by Bob was with Stan Getz. It's from the album recorded 1961, and it's called Who Could Care? It's an incredibly beautiful ballad. And the first time I heard it was on a Stan Getz compilation disc, and the personnel was not given, but I figured out that's got to be Bob Brookmeyer playing valve trombone. And that 5 minutes of music with who's playing piano? Steve Kuhn is on piano. I don't remember the other performers. Is transcendent music to me.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know if it can get any better. And whenever I'm doing a lecture about jazz or teaching a jazz history class or a jazz styles class, I always include that recording because I want the people that are hearing it to be drawn into that studio and be there with the musicians as they're creating some true magic.
So, who else is going to be on the stage that day?
Well, the band is, of course, Early Braggs is playing trombone. Early is one of the great trombone players in our region. Uh, Paul Roberts is playing piano. Tim is on bass, Tim Burr on bass, and Sam Platt on drums. It's worthy to note that Paul and Sam were students at UMKC when I brought Bob in for a number of residencies. And so they both have very deep affection for Bob, his music, and the influence that he had upon them. So for all five of us, this is a way to say thank you. And then also Brad Gregory is joining us on tenor saxophone for Tim's piece for Bob Brookmeyer. We also want everyone to know that Carolyn Brewer is going to speak about Bob's life in Kansas City. Carolyn is writing a great biography about Bob, starting from his young years through these years of being in Kansas City as a performer and then moving on to New York. So she's going to share some of her research with us about Bob.
So again, September 14th, the Blue Room, 2 to 3:15. We're going to get out before we play the Eagles, a little Super Bowl rematch. And for everybody, just so you know, 18th Street is completely, absolutely will probably shock you the way it looks. So go another way to get into the museum. And I have no doubt that it's going to be a stellar show. I'm looking forward to it. And I have to say, I catch you over there. I caught you at the atrium with the band directors about a month ago, and to feel the power of the music always on that soil, as history rich as it is, it never gets old, and it's always so good that Kansas City is keeping this flame of music just going and sounding wonderful every time.
Well, thank you, Joe. I didn't know you were at the reading session. That was a lot of fun to
Yeah,
participate in the Charlie Parker celebration.
yeah.
We're excited about this concert. We realize that the football game is highly important to everyone in the region, but we want them to come down and celebrate the legacy of Bob Brookmeyer, who I met 40 years ago at his home in New York to convince him to come back to Kansas City to do these concerts. And we especially want to shout out the great Warren Durrett because Warren was the person who financially made it possible for us to bring Bob back to campus time after time after time. And so there's a great legacy. Bob played with Warren in the 40s, so we kind of came full circle. So for all of us who are performing this music, we're excited to present it. It's a unique program, music that hasn't been heard before as far as we know in Kansas City, and the musicians are excited about it, so we want the folks to come out and celebrate with us. It's free. Again, sponsored by the Jazz Ambassadors and Jamey Aebersold. Just remember to park off of 17th Terrace.
Excellent. One more question before we get out here. How did Bob feel coming back to Kansas City? I mean, there's a lot of musicians that have left that come back, and there's always this warmth and this good feeling. What was Bob's beat on coming back to Kansas City where it all began?
Well, he left here in 1952,
Yeah.
and he was back periodically, but not with any regularity. And as far as we know, the visit in 1986, spring of 86, was his first time back in a very long time. I think it was a little bittersweet to begin with. Bob was a rather guarded person,
Yeah.
and he had led a very colorful life as one of the great jazz musicians, of course, with Jerry Mulligan and Thad Jones and so many others. But then he felt very warm toward the conservatory and meeting people, and folks he hadn't seen in years came to the concert. He reestablished contact with John Elliott and so many other people. I mentioned Warren Durrett. And he had an aunt that was still living in Kansas City at that time. So he was able to spend time with her. So he looked forward to the residencies. He invested deeply in the students and especially invested in me. And he really changed the way I teach.
Yeah.
I cannot thank him enough for
Yeah.
all that he did for me and for the program at UMKC. You may know that the manuscripts that he wrote for Thad Jones and Mel Lewis are sitting in special collections in the Milner Nichols Library.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. So again, on the 14th of September, starts at 2 o'clock at the Blue Room. It's always a wonderful time there. So thank you again. I will have links so that everybody has all the details in the show notes. Mike, we caught up in 24. It's great to catch back up with you. I always love seeing you getting the music out there. So thank you, sir. I appreciate your time today.
Joe, thank you, and thank you for all that you do for the music in Kansas City. We
My
appreciate it
pleasure.
greatly.
Hey Jazz fans, Joe Domino of Neon Jazz here. Proud to let you know about the triumphant return of the Kansas City Blues and Jazz Festival to Legends Field at the home of the KC Monarchs with a stellar lineup. Grammy-winning Stanley Clarke, Carl Denson's Tiny Universe, Jazz Master Bill Frisell, and KC luminaries Jackie Myers and Brody Buster. Tickets and more for this electrifying two-day event is found at monarchsbaseball.com, then click on special events. This October 3rd and 4th, join us as we bring magic and music back to Kansas City.